Good Tuesday morning and welcome to KSAT News Now, our bite-sized digital newscast and podcast streaming every day, Monday through Friday at 11. I'm Priscilla Kerman.
And I'm Sarah Costa. I love that we have a podcast with this.
Yes.
I'm a podcast listener, so we will talk. Just don't forget, like for our listeners, I know like we sometimes forget to visualize some of our stories for you. One of our stories is about cockroaches involving exes, so maybe we can visualize that for you.
Right. We'll try it. We'll do our best. But oh my goodness, what a morning it was. I walked outside of my house to come to work and the fog just was like taking over everything. Did you get any?
I mean, I left my house at 3 o'clock this morning. The fog was back. What time did you leave?
It was about 8:30 when
you still had fog?
Yeah, and I thought almost that there was like a fire in my neighborhood because it literally looked like smoke.
Yeah.
But then when I, walked all the way out, I was like, oh, it's fog.
Yeah, it's definitely scary to drive in super early in the morning.
Yeah.
It looks like it's dissipating a little bit outside, so good thing there. But we have some really cool stories to talk about. I'm a big, climate change. I think it's important that we talk about it. I think it's important that we find stories that are positive. I think a lot of the times climate change is a buzzword. People think, oh my gosh, like doom and gloom, I don't want to hear about it. But we actually have a good positive story when it comes to the ozone layer.
Yes, we're also going to have an update on classified documents found at President Biden's former office. But first, we just want to get right to a big day for state lawmakers.
That's right. The Capitol today is back for the 88th legislative session. This is where they will spend the next 5 months deciding which laws to pass and how to spend the state's money for the next 2 years.
Some of the top things that we're keeping our eyes on include how lawmakers decide to spend the budget surplus. It's about $32.7 billion, which was left over from the previous budget cycle.
That's right. So infrastructure has been thrown out as a potential one-time investment, but Governor Greg Abbott has said he wants to use half the money for property tax cuts.
Other lawmakers say it may not be possible because of the state's self-imposed spending cap. Another topic is parental rights, and lawmakers say that they want to give parents more say in their children's education, for instance, which schools they attend or which books they read.
And there are dozens of bills targeting LGBTQ plus issues. Some of them aim to impose restrictions on drag shows and restricting or even criminalizing gender-affirming care for trans children. So this is the biggest budget that state lawmakers have ever had to work with, according to the Texas Comptroller announced that yesterday. And this is a 26% increase from last session. This budget is.
Yeah, so it'll be like we mentioned, if they want to use, half of it for what Governor Greg Abbott was proposing, for property tax cuts. He says, a lot of people will really feel that impact, but there's restrictions, so they can't necessarily just say, hey, this is what I want to do and do it automatically.
And why do we have this this budget surplus? And it's thanks to tax collection windfall. But the comptroller also warned, hey, let's not get crazy. We do have to put some of that money into our reserves. So it's going to be really interesting to see in the next coming weeks what the legislatures decide to do with this money, and then you'll see it through all of the bills that end up being filed. So stay with us on KSAT and as we cover this legislative session. Also the Texas Tribune, we have a partnership with them, and they do great work covering the legislative session.
And again, this runs through the end of May. So if you're interested in learning more about some of the things that we just talked about, we do have a full article on our website, ksat.com, where you can read a little bit more in depth about each of those topics. But yeah, the border immigration also going to be a big topic of how they address it and what's going on down there.
Education, I know educators, Texas is in desperate need for more educators, and educators saying pay us more and you'll be able to keep more educators in the classroom.
Yeah.
So that's another thing to look at. All right, we're going to head to our next top story. The Department of Justice has started a preliminary review into classified documents found at President Biden's old office.
So here's what we know. The documents were found in November in the private Washington, D.C. office, which was used by Biden while he was vice president. They were found while the president's personal attorneys were packing to vacate the space.
So the White House is cooperating with the investigation. An attorney for the president says his team first flagged the materials to the DOJ and the National Archives and Record Administration.
That person also says the documents were not the subject of any previous request or inquiry by the National Archives. That's the biggest difference that we're seeing between this scenario and what happened with former President Donald Trump, which did have a criminal referral sent to the National Archives inspector.
And you might remember last year, 15 boxes of classified documents were found inside Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. The search of Mar-a-Lago found additional sets of top secret and sensitive documents. The Justice Department is still investigating.
Yes, and of course, the former president has denied any wrongdoing when it comes to that. But I think we were talking about this earlier, and like you said, the biggest thing is that President Biden's administration found these documents, handed them over immediately. So there wasn't a criminal investigation into this, but again, it's going to be interesting to see not only how this plays out, but also the investigation at Mar-a-Lago as well. And I also wanted to mention, though, some lawmakers are saying, you know, this should be a bigger deal, even though some people are saying, oh, well, they handed him over. They're, you know, of course, lawmakers are saying, well, when it came to President Trump, you know, we made such an ordeal of it, and that they want to treat this the same. So we'll just have to see, you know, if an investigation is sparked into this and what comes of it.
All right, and here's my favorite story of the day, and where good news for the planet. Earth's ozone layer is on track to recover completely within decades as ozone-depleting chemicals are phased out across the world.
According to a new science report, the ozone layer protects the planet from harmful ultraviolet rays. And since the late 1980s, scientists have sounded the alarm about this hole in the shield caused by ozone-depleting substances. They're often found in refrigerators, aerosols, and solvents.
So in 1989, worldwide efforts were made to phase out the use of these substances. If global policies stay in place, the ozone layer is expected to recover to 1980 levels by 2040 for most of the world. The assessment found in for polar areas, the time frame for recovery is longer, 2045 over the Arctic and 2066 over Antarctic.
This is just, it feels like finally all the little steps that people have been taking over, you know, the last decade or so are kind of paying off a little bit, you know, because people often think if you're not doing something major, you're not really contributing. But for instance, I'm saying like an eco-friendly car, not everybody can do that, so.
No, or just like you feel like, oh my gosh, my imprint is so small because I'm taking, I'm recycling my water bottle, or I'm taking my reusable bags to the grocery store. But this doesn't mean just because the ozone layer is healing that we continue to emit greenhouse gases, which is going to be the argument for people who don't believe in climate change.
Yeah, exactly. And guys, this is a podcast. This is a bite-sized newscast, so I think we can be a little bit, you know, more relaxed. So I want to tell a funny story about the ozone layer.
Let's do it.
So when I was in third grade, so I don't know about you guys, but when we were growing up in school, this was a big deal. They were telling us about the ozone layer, everything like that.
90s kids.
90s kids. The school I went to was pretty interesting now that I think about it. We did a play all about the ozone layer, and I still remember the song.
Please sing it.
Sing it.
You guys are, okay.
No judgment. This is a safe place, Sarah Spivey.
We're killing the ozone, killing the ozone, killing the ozone. Those were third graders singing that line. And now that I think about it, that was a little intense, I think.
We're killing the ozone. At least you were like happy about it.
Well, I don't know why they were so happy about it.
Well, they drilled it into your head though. And
hey, look, the ozone layer is healing now. Maybe it was that play.
Maybe it was that. I still remember that song. Isn't it funny the things that stick with you?
Ozone. That's going to stay in my head now.
Yeah, that's how it went.
Was anyone the globe and like...
No, but my sister was a sunflower and she fell off the stage. Oh. Yeah, no, she was fine.
I think now anytime you're doing something that is environmentally friendly, you can say, we're healing the ozone.
We're healing the ozone. That's a good one. Thank you for that, Priscilla. Okay, guys, I have a trivia question for you. Mountain cedar season, we're in the middle of mountain cedar season. Usually on average, we see the peak in mid-January, and the average is about 20 to 32,000 pollen grains per cubic meter of air. In your guess, what was the highest cedar count ever on record for us?
Wait, we don't get, what's it called, like we always do, multiple choice?
Nope.
Okay.
Take a guess. If on average it's 32,000 maybe for the high count.
Was it like 40,000?
I'm going to say 45.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Back in 1982,
Oh my goodness.
80,000 pollen grains per cubic meter of air. I
Wow.
know. And in the last 15 years, 2011 was our highest count. So in this one, you guys are more spot on. About 48,000 pollen grains per cubic meter of air. Last year was a fairly average season. We got up to about 25,000. And so far this year, we've only had about 13,000. Now, the thing is, we're in the middle of the peak. So I think with this potential front that we're going to get on Thursday, we could see a higher count than even that. We'll keep you updated. As for the forecast today, we're going to have a warm one, sunny skies with a high temperature right near 80 degrees this afternoon. It'll be cool this evening with temperatures falling into the 60s. And that fog that we saw this morning, expect more fog tomorrow. I didn't even mean to say expect more like KSAT, but you know, that's what we got. So more fog early tomorrow morning, 56 degrees, 81 for the high tomorrow. Then that front moves through and we'll be looking at temperatures falling into
Sarah
the
just
60s.
smacked one of our web team members in the newsroom.
I just accidentally ran into her. We'll be looking at mornings in the 30s, afternoons in the 60s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you for that beautiful rendition of
You're
Killing
welcome.
the Ozone. I'm going to request it often on the weekend, Sarah. Thank you. Do you have, well, you're married now, so you married your high school sweetheart too.
I did.
So do you have exes from like middle school, high school?
I mean, not that I even
That you're
count.
passionate about?
No, not at all. But I mean, it feels like obviously the holidays just ended, but when you're at the store, they're filled with Valentine's Day stuff already.
That's right. In the San Antonio Zoo, it's something they do every year. They're offering visitors to buy a cockroach, rat, or vegetable. Vegetable? Okay. Name it after, I guess if you're like vegetarian, name it after your ex, then feed it to an animal on Valentine's Day.
The 4th annual Cry Me a Cockroach fundraiser begins today and goes through February 14th. It's a season of love and loathing and a chance to leave negativity behind, whether it be an ex or something or someone you just don't like.
Okay, so participants receive a certificate and a video sent by email of an animal eating your chosen snack. So of course you can forward that to your ex if you're really vicious.
Yeah, I don't know that the thought of a cockroach just automatically makes me cringe. Like, ooh.
I wonder if it's like a good crunch. Does it make a good crunch? Or a rat?
God.
Ew, a rat being swallowed by a snake.
Well, but they like them.
They like.
I feel like I'm less grossed out by the rat than the cockroach.
No, I don't know. Cockroaches don't gross me out. I don't know. Okay, so you will receive a digital Valentine's card written by you. I'm sorry, I guess your ex will receive that.
Yes.
And the cockroaches and veggies are $10.
Yes, rodents are $25. 20 people can upgrade to do a voiceover for the feeding video for $150. And of course, the funds raised will help the zoo.
I love the voiceover option. I think I remember watching a voiceover option by one of the zoo employees. They're good.
Yeah.
They know exactly what they're doing.
They're around them enough to mimic them.
Yeah, so last year there were 7,000 donations from every state in the U.S. and from 30 different countries. We have that link to sign up on KSAT.com.
Are you going to be doing it?
I'm married now.
Yeah.
I'm past that. Not that I didn't have exes that I was passionately upset about, but I'm married now.
But they won't be getting any cockroaches from you.
No.
Or rats.
No, I don't. You know what I love about this is it all benefits the San Antonio Zoo.
Right.
One of my favorite places in San Antonio, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. Producer Robert says, things you don't like, what would you do that for?
Things that I don't like. COVID. Let's get rid of COVID.
True.
Let's get rid of the flu. Let's get rid of climate change. Not that I'm an angry, upset person at all.
You're just
For
thinking
the
about
ozone.
the people. All right. Well, I think that wraps up our Tuesday show. We will see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
See you guys tomorrow.